Free of the magistrates, at least for the time being, the Blackhearts continued with their original objective: to inform the Bratva of the troubling letter found in the Fairweather estate, and their suspicions that the Sinola might be involved in the orchestration of hate preachers in the city. They arrived at the Drunken Elf, noting the district appeared entirely non-human, and that the door guards seemed far more at ease. Upon entering, they ordered drinks at the bar, and then headed over to Dameron's table. Gideon, with a smirk, made a point of consuming Dameron's drink instead of his own, something the tiefling clearly noted. When they presented the letter, Dameron asked them to humor him with their conclusions. Apparently satisfied, he led them upstairs to a room guarded by two huge dragonborn, whom the Blackhearts recognized as Oleg's bodyguards. Dameron entered the room, and after some murmuring, raised voices speaking in Bratva Cant could be heard. A brief moment passed, and Dameron ushered the Blackhearts inside. The room was furnished with a large table full of food and refreshments. Seated at the table were Oleg, his son Alexei, and his daughter Annika. There was a tension in the air, as if something important had been interrupted. Dameron took up position at the door, and Oleg gestured for the Blackhearts to sit. There seemed to be some protestation from Alexei, but a glance from Oleg shut it down. Oleg inquired after the other Blackhearts, and Aurellian's disembodied voice spoke out from under the table, causing Alexei to leap from his seat into a defensive stance. With a sigh, Gideon explained that Aurellian was now the Blade. This news was met with less surprise than the Blackhearts had expected. So Oleg thanked the Blackhearts for the information they had provided, stating that they were now proving their worth to the Bratva. He offered them refreshment, which they declined. As a gesture of thanks, Oleg offered to furnish the Blackhearts with cold weather gear and supplies for their upcoming venture to Icewind Dale, stating that someone could survive for a month in the cold wastes with what his organization would provide. Jacob was the first to thank the Bratva, and the rest of the Blackhearts followed suit. As they were leaving, Oleg halted them briefly, saying that the next time they chose to visit his home, they should stop by and introduce themselves. Though nonchalant, this message was interpreted as a warning. As they left, Dameron asked what that was about, and Aurellian cheerfully explained they were lost in the area, looking for a tanner, and happened across Oleg's residence. It was not clear whether Dameron believed this deception. The Blackhearts resolved to return to the Fairweather estate and conduct more in-depth investigations under the guise of their role as sponsored entertainers. Passing through the docks ward, they encountered two young, naive poets who happened to be talking about heading to the Moonlit Muse to watch a performance. After a brief conversation, during which Faraday became irritated by one of the newcomers, the Blackhearts decided to escort the pair to the Muse. Faraday stealthily stole one of their coin purses. They arrived at the Moonlit Muse, a place that, unlike the rest of the docks, had a good mix of races. Upon entering, the party was greeted by the comforting aroma of spiced ale and hearty stew wafting from the kitchen. The interior was adorned with flickering candlelight, casting dancing shadows on the worn wooden tables and plush, mismatched chairs that filled the space. A crackling fireplace stood near the stage, its roaring flames providing both warmth and ambience to the room. They were astounded to hear the famous bard, Seraphina Nightingale, telling an embellished tale of their encounter at the Fairweather estate, highlighting Aurelian's valor. The crowd was overwhelmed by the performance. Gideon was clearly a little offended by his portrayal as a vicious beast, while Faraday and Balthazar balked at the praise Aurelian was receiving. At the bar, the poets offered to buy drinks, only to realize their purse was missing. An elf at the bar, introducing himself as Elwyn Moon Whisper, offered to add the drinks to his tab. The Blackhearts grabbed a seat in the crowded tavern during the intermission and ordered more drinks on Elwyn's tab. At the table, Jacob reflected on the curiousness of the Fairweather tale being so public and Aurelian's exaggerated role in the stories. Upon seeing Faraday talking to himself yet again, Gideon inquired about this mysterious Balthazar character. As Faraday began to explain that Balthazar was trapped in the ring, his hand moved over it, and the party found themselves lurchingly and disorientingly transported to a lavish bedchamber and study. They were confused, except for Faraday, who seemed to recognize the place. To their shock, Aurellian was standing next to them, instead of being in the blade, but he was transparent, and his hands passed through objects. Balthazar was there, visibly irritated by the trespass. He exasperatedly explained that they were inside the ring Faraday wore, also his own personal sanctum, and were far from welcome. Realizing that Faraday had done this accidentally, rather than employ his usual sarcasm, Balthazar reflected that he should dedicate more time to Faraday's training. He explained that the ring was now a sanctuary for them both, and showed Faraday the gesture needed to activate it. Balthazar and Aurellian exchanged parting insults, and with a similar lurch the Blackhearts found themselves back at the table, with several shocked and confused bystanders around them.